Hello and welcome to Garden Wise. My name is Marty Morgan. I work for the Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service here in Wise County as the Ag and Natural Resources Agent. Appreciate you joining us today. And today's lesson is on planting the garden. I hope you enjoy it.
Talk about that. Why do we plant a garden? I mean, it's a lot of work. It can be a lot of work, but it's fun, right? And you get to eat fresh vegetables, fresh produce. So that's one reason I've always planted a garden. I grew up, my dad had a couple of acres. Some people call it a truck patch. He called it a small garden. And I always had to run the front tine Sears and Roebuck tiller. It's fun. But anyway, uh, it's really enjoyable to me, and I know it is to a lot of people because it's their time to get out there and relax. And yes, it's work, and yes, we do have to sweat a little, and but it's fun, and we get rewarded from the produce we gather. So it's something that you can do as a family. You don't have to do it alone. I mean, you can if you like being alone. Sometimes I just like being alone. But do it with your wife, do it with your kids, your grandkids, whatever your case may be. But it's just fun watching stuff grow. I mean, you plant seeds in the ground or you plant transplant in the ground and you just watch them grow, watch them take off. Uh, but to be successful at this, you're going to need some equipment and supplies. So make sure you have those on hand before you start up. Okay, let's talk about seeds. Now, purchasing seeds is going to give you a head start on everybody if you purchase good seeds. So be sure you get your seeds from a reputable dealer. Uh, I know you're thinking, what are you talking about? It's just garden seeds. Well, what kind of garden? How good of a garden do you want? I mean, if you want a really good garden, then I suggest you start with good seeds. Uh, consult me. I mean, I have a list of seed dealers and where you can get them, and get you. Most companies have catalogs that you can look at and buy seeds from. So there's a lot of sources out there, a lot of resources out there for getting good seeds to start your garden off with. Here, all right, let's talk about germination test. Uh, Before you plant last year's seeds, or if you buy fresh seeds for this year, do a little test on it and see what the germination is. If the germination is not very good, then you're probably not going to buy that seed again, and from the source that you bought it from. So just place 10 or 20 seeds. I like to do 20. It's easy to keep up with, and it gives you a little better chance. Between two layers of paper towels, then wet the paper towel and keep it moist for a few days. And then those seeds will start sprouting, and you can count those seeds. If you had 18 out of 20, what percent would that be? 18 out of 20 would be 90%, right? So if you had 8 out of 10, if you just done 10 seeds and had 8 out of 10, be 80%. So anyway, if half or fewer of the seeds sprout, then you probably better go find another source to buy seeds from. So we want 70 to 80% would be perfect if we can get them to germinate. So 70 to 80%. All right, use of transplants. We most all of us, hardly any of us, I should say, uh, although there are some that spend the time and take tomato seeds and pepper seeds and other plants that you can put in a peat moss cup and start them in a greenhouse or inside your house in the utility room or wherever you can start those at. But just start them indoors, because it's cold. Chance of them freezing, and most of those are started in February or March. So just make sure you start them indoors where they can't freeze and where the cold and the hot weather too can get to them. Well, Won't be no hot weather that time of year. Wishful thinking. Anyway, start these transplants. You can do broccoli, cauliflower, pepper, eggplant, and of course the favorite of all is tomatoes. Or you can just go to your garden center, wherever that may be in your town, and just grab some off the shelf. Grab some good-looking tomato and pepper plants, and just go home and put them in the ground. I'll talk about something that most people don't think of is hardening your plants. The homegrown, transplants after planting them in the garden, about 10 days before transplanting them, you need to get them used to what you're going to put them out in. You need to gradually expose these plants to the conditions you're going to put them in outside. And to do that, you need to take them out of your house or your greenhouse or whatever and let them be exposed to that. But first of all, you want to reduce the watering because you don't want the plants to wilt, but you want them to be moist enough to be okay and do okay. Don't fertilize before you transplant them. And purchase transplants, they're probably going to be well hardened anyway. The nurseryman can answer this question for you. So don't over harden them, because if you over harden them, if you put them in too extreme conditions too fast, it's going to cause the plants to be stunted. So what varieties do we plant? You know, we'd like to, as far as our disease and our insect control, especially the disease, we like to plant varieties uh, that'll resist some of those diseases, some of those funguses and bacteria that we get, like blights and blossom end rot and things like that. So here's a vegetable variety selector. It's from aggie-horticulture.tmeu. That's Texas A&M University. So it shows you varieties that you can pick, and I believe it's area specific, or maybe it's goes by the zones, the cold zones. Anyway, there's another one here that you see there. So copy those down and or copy them off and go online and look at them. All right. Use a hoe handle, an air stick, or similar tool to make a seeding trench. I just like to use a hoe. Matter of fact, you can buy one of those little V-shaped hoes, and it works great. Just pull it along and make you a little trench, and you don't want to get them too deep. Like I said, small seeds, they don't need to be about a quarter inch deep, really, preferably. I mean, if you get them a little deeper than that, they're probably gonna go ahead and come up. But the small seeds are like carrots, greens, radish, lettuce, you know. Then the medium seeds, you want to plant them about a half to an inch deep, and that's okras and beets and other things. And the large seeds like corn and beans and peas, you know, you want to plant them to about an inch or inch and a half deep. I never would go over an inch or inch. Inch is plenty on any seed. All right, to get a good stand, plant more seeds than you need. You can always thin the plants after you've done it, especially onions. You know, just put them thick. And then when they start growing, you can go in and pull every other one and have you some good little green onions to eat with your meals. And man, it's making me hungry. I love onions, and I love the little green onions, and you know, the bigger ones too. But those green ones sure are good, fresh out of the garden. So use proper spacing by thinning your garden out when you're pulling every other one, especially root crops, carrots, onions, beets. Uh, if old seeds are used, you know, you might not get as good a stand, but hopefully you will if you store them right. So anyway, we don't want everything to get too crowded. As the plants get bigger, we want them to have room to grow and not be crowded, and so they can get the right amount of nutrients and sunlight. All right, what about transplanting? Let's talk about that. Uh, when's the ideal time to transplant? Well, as soon as the soil's dry enough, right? It's also helpful if you'll transplant on a cloudy day or late in the afternoon. That way, the transplant doesn't go into shock from being exposed to a hot sun or maybe even cooler temps if the sun's not out. So thoroughly water the transplants before planting. You know, water them, put them in the ground, use a hoe or a shovel or a trowel or something to make a hole, and put the pots in the ground and put the dirt back around to the top of the peat moss box that's holding your plant. Don't put it any deeper. You can get these too deep. And a lot of times we put them too deep and wonder why they won't grow. That's the reason you got them too deep. It's better for them to be the crown to be a little bit above the ground than it is to be a little bit below the ground. All right, make a starter solution by dissolving 2 tablespoons of garden fertilizer, such as 10 by 10 by 10, 10, 10, 10, triple 10, in a gallon of water, and fill the hole. You can also use what's the Miracle, yeah, Miracle-Gro. You can use that too. Works just as good, I think better. And you usually don't get too much because it's got better instructions or more detailed instructions on the label. So I would use Miracle-Gro. All right, so leave a dish-shaped depression around the plant to hold the water. but still don't get it above the soil line. Survive. So be prepared to protect the plants when it's freezing weather. You may have to go cover them up with something if you've got them in the ground. Sometimes, we have Easter freezes. This time we have one a day or two after Easter, and next year it may be the 20th. So you never know. Just be prepared and watch the weather forecast and keep an eye on the temperatures so you can protect your investment in your garden and all your hard work. Plants that sit in the garden in late summer for a fall garden will need some protection from the sun. So, you might put a piece of cardboard or anything to block that evening hot sun and provide some shade for them so they'll do a little better. You know how it is. I mean, you're out there mowing the yard and it's hotter than a firecracker, and when you go mowing under the tree, it sure does feel better, doesn't it? Well, think about your plants. They're going to feel better when you give them a little shade to protect them from that old hot sun. All right, so here's the frost susceptible plants that possibly could be killed or injured if the temperature gets below 32. So we have our early season vegetables, that's bush beans, summer squash. We have our mid-season, that's cucumber, sweet corn, lima beans, okra, pepper, cherry tomatoes. And we have our late season vegetables, that's 80 plus days to harvest. And that's our cantaloupe, eggplant, Irish potatoes, pumpkin, sweet potatoes, tomatoes, watermelon, and winter squash. Now the frost tolerant crops that can withstand a little bit of frost are right at 32 degrees is beets, leaf lettuce, mustard, radish, spinach, turnip greens. That's your early season, 30 to 60 days to harvest. Then you have your mid-season, 60 to 80 days to harvest. That's your broccoli, carrots, and you can read it there, green onions and parsley. And then you have your late season vegetables, or late season, 80 plus days to harvest. And that's your Brussels sprouts, your bulb onions, your cabbage, your cauliflower, garlic. All right, so here's some great garden resources for you. That Aggie.horticulture website is a really good website for not just garden, but also for lawns and trees and whatever. So check it out. Texas Home Gardening Guide by Texas A&M University. It's on that Aggie horticulture website too. And there's a really good publication called Everything a Texan Ask About Gardening. Really good. I suggest that you go there and read it. But anyway, that's our planting a garden. Why do you plant it? What do you plant? When do you plant? How do you take care of it? We're going to answer all those questions on Garden Wise, and we hope that you enjoyed this video. And if you have any questions, like I said, give me a call at the office, 940-627-3341, or you can email me at marty.morgan@ag.tamu.edu. And I thought I put that information on the end of this slide, but looks like I didn't. So my bad. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this, and look forward to seeing you on the next edition of Garden Wise.